Well, Cava is in the red ever so slightly. You see right there following that very strong public debut yesterday where the stock closed up, let's call it over 100% or roughly from what was a $22 a share IPO price. Leslie Picker's been following the action and, of course, even more importantly, perhaps what it means for the likelihood of future IPOs, given how few we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, David, I think that is the big question today, whether Cava's successful debut was idiosyncratic, specific to Cava, or if you could really extrapolate that to many companies that are still waiting in the wings. To answer that question, we need to look at both the buy side, that's investor demand for new issuance, and the sell side, companies that would be pursuing these listings. The buy side, clearly back. I'm told mutual funds were clamoring for a piece of Cava. Those who got allocations, including those 3 anchor investors, doubled their stakes in a day. The Renaissance IPO ETF, that's up 33% year to date, outperforming the S&P. That's another indication that investors are in the black on these types of holdings and will likely have appetite for more of them. The sell side, though, may be a little bit more trepidatious. IPO contenders like Stripe and Instacart have slashed their internal valuations in recent months. Companies typically like to go public when they can get the biggest bang for their buck in terms of multiples. So with the potential for more rate hikes this year, the banking turmoil that may or may not be over, and uncertainty about when or if there is a recession that could stem some issuer interest. Still, Goldman sent a note earlier this week that the market backdrop is getting to be more conducive for IPOs thanks to improvement in CEO confidence, a peak in front-end rates, and historically elevated multiples. The firm says the second half of the year should foster in more IPOs. In speaking with sources behind the scenes, it seems like there's definitely interest, new and renewed, but don't necessarily expect the floodgates to be open in the near term thanks to this gangbusters debut by Cava, guys.
You know, Leslie, on that note, though, any big names that we are focused on? I know we expect ARM perhaps to come towards the end of the summer, let's call it, owned by SoftBank now, a mature company, and an enormous company by IPO standards, certainly. Anything else that could be a barometer if, in fact, we hear it's going to really be coming soon?
Well, Reddit has been on file for quite some time now, so that's one that people have been watching. Of course, Instacart, as I mentioned before, Stripe seems like it's going to take some time before really heading to the public markets. But you really kind of have to look at the comps. In the restaurant space, it's done really well. So Kate Rogers pointed out this week that Panera is a contender here, as well as some other restaurants. And so maybe that's more of the near-term IPO contender, is kind of in that more consumer space. We saw a pretty decent debut by Kenvue, which is a consumer company as well, operates in that consumer space, used to be the part of Johnson & Johnson. So, I think in the near term, it's really going to be sector specific. But in terms of those big kind of high growth IPOs, we may be waiting a few quarters for those to really come out.